All right, thank y'all for being here. November, and it's gotten here fast. So the fate of our season will be determined over the next 4 weeks. Our guys are fired up, determined to finish strong. So looking forward to it. Coming off the bye week, practiced twice last week, and then we practiced Sunday. Today's our off day. We'll get back tomorrow. Made a change at DC last week, as you know. Appreciate Jordan and his service to our program. Really good man, really good football coach. Jeff Coons will take over and qualified. He's ready to step up. He's done really well anytime we put him in charge, whether it's lead in recruiting, whether it's on the punt team where he's taking the lead. He's been the organizer on special teams, always excelled in leadership roles. He's got experience with linebackers here, but he's also coached safeties in the past, so he can tie the front and the back. And then he's called defense before. So excited for him. Special teams. What we'll do is Tony Thompson has been our lead on our punt block team all year. He'll add the responsibilities of the punt team and be the lead on the punt team. And then Chris Herring has been our lead on kickoff and kickoff return all year. He'll continue in that role. So that's how we'll divide up special teams. Scrimmage 3 times with our young guys over the break. Went approximately 100 plays. Some guys that stood out defensively on the defensive line, Elijah Kinsler, who's kind of been our sixth guy. He's right there on the fringe, whether he's going to play these last 4 or not. But I thought he had a really good week. At linebacker, Ricky Williams, he's coming on. He missed fall camp, most of fall camp with the injury, but he's what we're looking for at the linebacker position. And DBs, Aiden Nelson was good, which we need him to step up. And so hopefully he can put himself in a position to play this last month. Jason Cross did a nice job. He can run. He's got a bright future. He's got to gain some weight. And then Keyshawn Robinson, who's been a really good special teams player for us on kickoff and punt coverage, he had a nice week as well. Offensively, Dior Hubbard had two of the 3 days. He was really good yesterday. Up front, Kyle Altuner practice was released, and he practiced full go last week and showed some good things. And then I thought Justin Terry and Lucas Austin, both the young tackles, did some nice things during the week. And then Brandon Raymond, he probably had his best day as a Mountaineer yesterday. And so he's continuing to get stronger and could potentially help us on special teams down the line here in this month. Injury update, I would say Garrett is doubtful for this week. And then Burks, Garnes, and Bray will all be out. Everybody else, y'all can ask questions, but everybody else should be ready to go. Going to Cincinnati, they're playing really well. If you look at all the statistics, whether it's special teams, offense, or defense, they're near the top in the upper quarter in a lot of those statistics. Obviously, know Coach Satterfield really well. We've played against each other a bunch. He does a great job. A lot of respect for him. Know a lot of those guys on the staff. Special teams, I think they're just as a group. One of the biggest improvements from last year to this year is their coverage units. You can tell they got a lot more team speed. Their punter's excellent. Hang time, distance. He's got a bunch of different punts he can hit. And then their kicker, he's made, I think, 3 50-yard field goals. That's impressive. Defense, they made a transition to a 3-down, 3-safety look. They've been really good in the red zone, really good taking the ball away. They're up in the top of scoring defense as well. I think Corleone's special. He's the nose tackle, and he's a load. We'll have to account for him. Jared's played well so far this year too. But they're doing some nice things defensively, and it's kind of in the Iowa State structure. They hired their linebacker coach, and they're improved on defense. Offensively, it's balanced, typical Satterfield offense. A lot of outside zone and all the bells and whistles off the outside zone. I think for them, it starts with their running backs. They're excellent at running back, and they've got 2 guys and they've hit a bunch of explosives this year. The quarterback is playing really well. I think they're second or third in the Big 12 in passing. He's doing a nice job. He's been real efficient with the ball. He's a sneaky good athlete too. He can run. He's a big kid. Really difficult tackle. Their O-line, I think all 5th or 6th year players up front that are playing, and so they've played a lot of football together, and they're doing a nice job. And then they added the Royer kid who's a Cincinnati kid, transferred from Ohio State, and he's made them different offensively. He's kind of the go-to guy on third down, and he's doing a nice job in the block game, but he's really been a good pass catcher for him. And then Xavier Henderson has been a deep threat, really good at 50-50 balls. Done a nice job there for them. So all in all, they're good. They're a really good team. They're in the top half. You know, there's this league is wide open. You know, and BYU's only undefeated team left, and I would not be surprised at all if there wasn't a two-loss team that's playing in Dallas when it's all said and done. And us and Cincinnati are still right in the mix. So looking forward to getting back to it on Saturday. So Greg, start us off.
So defensively,
Yep.
what's realistic in terms of improvement this deep in the season? You made a change, so where do you want to see your defense get better?
Well, we got to continue to get better. You know, I think the consistency is the main issue. Is you know, at times we've played really good on defense. You know, if you look at the first 3 quarters versus Arizona, I would say that's winning football. You know, if you look at the first half versus Kansas State, I'd say that's winning football. Second half versus Kansas, that's winning football. But we just haven't been consistent. You know, so that's the main is we've got to be consistent, and we've got to get some takeaways, and we've got to minimize explosives. You know, from a personnel standpoint, it's going to be the same people. It's not like, you know, we're not like the NFL. We're not making any trades or anything. And so who we've got is who we've got. We've got to do a better job of getting lined up, and we got to get takeaways. We've got to minimize explosives. You know, and I think making the change during the bye week will allow us to make some tweaks. But the structure of our defense is what it is. But we've got to do some things less predictable. You know, the self scout was good for us, so we've got to be able to mix up their looks.
You said you know, tweaks, but at this point in time,
yeah, the structure. Yeah, the structure is a structure. What we've got to do is we can't give them the answers to the test. You know, we've got to do a better job of disguising and whether it's our movements up front, it's our coverages in secondary. We got to do a better job of that.
Does the different perspective from a different set of eyes in that position help with that?
Well, here's the thing is I think it's to be determined, right? And so anytime you have a change in leadership, you know, like this is Jeff's show now, like it's his. And so you have a different person leading it. So it's going to be different. His leadership style is different. What he feels comfortable with is different, you know. You know, we made the change in the hopes it'd be better, but time will tell, right? We got to go out and be productive on Saturday.
Where is he going to be?
He'll be in the box. Yeah.
You have a hole, not a hole, vacancy on the staff. Do you bump anybody up from
Well,
support or?
you know, in old days, now everybody's coaching, Mike. So, yeah, so really we've got Jeff will move around a little bit. Jordan wasn't coaching a position, and so we've got a young coach that's really he's doing a nice job. Nardo's done a good job helping Jeff. So Jeff will maybe move around, and Nardo will handle some individual stuff. But with Jordan not having a position, it's not as big a change.
And one guy, Tarnu.
KK.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be
get that
back.
right eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better.
He's better. He'll practice tomorrow, and you know, unless there's any setbacks on Tuesday and Wednesday, we feel pretty good about him.
Same with Wyatt.
Same with who?
Wyatt.
Yes. Yeah. Wyatt. He practiced. I think he practiced on Thursday. Practiced yesterday. So yeah, he'll be available.
You went into my week and then came to this week, and it's almost like a new season. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, can you imagine the 4 teams that you had lost to all lost this week? You have a new defensive coordinator. You're in a race that it looked like you were out of. I mean, is it like a rebirth?
Yeah, I think the way that you look at this season is kind of in thirds, right? Played 4, had a bye. Played 4, had a bye, and now we're finishing with 4. Traditionally, we played our best football in the month of November, you know, and we need to live up to that bill this year too. I'm not surprised that we're in the thick of it. You know, I think if you go back and, you know, a couple weeks ago, I said I would not be surprised if there's a 2-loss team that has a chance to play in Dallas. You know, now it's going to be complicated. I don't know if I know I'm not. I don't know if anybody else in here is smart enough to figure out these tiebreakers, but good luck with that. But I would not be surprised at all. You know, and I think that speaks to this is a tough league. There's a lot of similar teams in the league, and each week, you know, I think Houston's a really good example of that. Really well coached with Willie Fritz, and you can see them getting better, and then they had a big win. And I think that proves that anybody can beat anybody in our league.
It's like that all over college football. There's only 5 undefeated teams left, so you look in every league, people are beating people.
Yeah, and I think that it's our league's always been like that. And as long as I've been in it as a head coach, it wasn't necessarily like that when I was a coordinator, but as a head coach, it's been like that all 6 years I've been in the league, where, there's always been one of the bottom teams that finished in the standing has always beaten one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the standing. That's happened every year I've been in the league. But in the SEC and some of those other leagues, necessarily haven't been the case. Reason why, I don't know. I can't tell you.
How big of an opportunity is this for Jeff, and is this kind of an audition for him, moving forward?
Yeah, I think this is big for him. You're gonna have a chance to talk to him. I think it's probably fair to ask him that question. But yeah, I think this is an opportunity. He's at a point where he's ready to do this. From a football perspective and a leadership ability, he definitely has the capabilities to be. And he's turned down some coordinator. He's had some coordinator opportunities, and he's turned those down to stay, which we're appreciative of. But yeah, I think this is a big opportunity for him, and he would say the same.
Sean mentioned that when he saw the scores, Kansas State, Iowa State finally losing, he had almost more of a little bit of a reaction of, I wish it was us, it should have been us. Is it hard to get your mind? It's different for a coach, but is it hard to get your mind to not go back there and be like, well, if they could beat them, we should be able to?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful. I think it's dangerous comparing scores. Just so whether it's injuries, whether there's so many different variables, and so honestly, I didn't spend a whole lot of time. Like, I had a day with Dax on Saturday, so I spent more time throwing football than watching football. So, but I saw those scores, and you're kind of just. That's kind of where we're at right now. You know what I mean? As far as everybody has an opportunity to beat everybody. I saw the end of the Iowa State-Texas Tech game. I did see the end of that. I didn't see any of the Kansas State games, so I can't speak on that. I didn't watch any of the Pitt game. But I think it's just, for us, it's what's, did we miss an opportunity versus Iowa State? Yes. Did we have some injuries that hindered our opportunity against Kansas State? Yes. But it doesn't do us any good to look back. For me, it's about looking forward. Do I wish we played them again? Yeah, but that's not the way it works.
Bartlett over there, do you have to do anything special call-wise or anything like that? Or
No, I don't think so. No. I mean, he practiced against us for a number of years. If he can remember our calls and stuff, more power to him. I have a hard time remembering from spring to fall camp, so if he can remember them, more power to him. Now, he's a good person, and he did a nice job here, and he left on good terms, and so there's no issues there. I'm happy for him. I hope he plays well every time except for this Saturday.
What did you ask Nico to do this week? Where can he still expand his game?
Yeah, so I think that, first of all, he was really efficient in the game, and he didn't turn it over. So I think first of all, you start with what does he need to sustain? So he needs to sustain taking care of the football. He needs to sustain being efficient and moving the chains on third downs. That's what he needs to sustain. Now, what do we need to improve on? We've got to hit some big balls. We've got to take some shots down the field, which he did. He hit the big one to Traylon, missed a couple, but we have to continue to grow in that area. There was some decision making in the run game that we need to clean up, and a couple third downs that he can make a little better decision on. But I'm pleased. I think that for us, it's about putting him in the best situation possible, and from a game planning perspective and how we're calling it. And if we continue to do that, then I believe he'll play well.
Does it change a little bit now with Garrett? I mean, he's not back, but you're looking at maybe a month between games for him by the time he does get cleared in practice, and he could having plenty of runway to be a starter. Yeah, I think that I don't know. I'll have to. He should throw a little bit this week. That's the hope. And so, is there going to be some rust there? I would think so. But he's also played a lot. He's played a lot, so I think he'd be able to handle that a little better than maybe a young player or somebody that's making their first, playing opportunities.
Is this kind of what you expected from him injury-wise, or was there anything we can give on that?
We're gonna be really, really careful. We're gonna be really careful, and when he's ready to go, then he'll have an opportunity to play, and he's just not ready right now.
How often ISO since it had This is the first, I believe, of 3 straight opponents that can play off of a bye.
Yeah, you notice that? Yeah, Big 12 did us some favors, right? So this one's fair, but then we play 2 more right in a row in the month of November, which I would say we're the only team in the league that's doing that, right? And so this game was supposed to be on Thursday, which would have given us a little leeway, but that didn't come through. So, yeah, it is what it is at this point. We'll play them and worry about it. I think this one, both of us come off bye week, and so it's equal for this game.
Are you still stopping halfway up to do the walkthrough?
Yeah.
It's kind of an unusual thing, I think, from my perspective. Just why are you doing that? What's the idea?
Well, so we're doing it because we're driving over. If you think about it from like we got to go to Clarksburg, and then you fly, and then you got to drive to the hotel. And so on the way over, we did this a lot at Troy, right, wrong, or indifferent. So you save some money, and then you break up the trip a little bit. And so what we'll do is we'll take several buses, and we'll go over. We'll stop in the Columbus area and practice. So we go about 2.5 hours, practice, eat lunch, and then get back on there and finish up the trip. And it'll be normal Friday. And then we're going to fly back just for the turnaround, especially since it's an early game.
Played at high school or like?
I don't even know, Mike, honestly. Yeah. I usually get to that. Like, we could tell you. I have no idea. I can't remember if we're stopping at one of the smaller colleges over there or if we're practicing at high school.
And it's like a regular road walkthrough, right? So typical.
Yeah, so we'll do our meetings here, and then instead of going right out to practice, we'll just get on the bus. And we've got the buses where everybody will have their own seats. So, as you can imagine, on a charter flight, those guys are pretty crunched in there, and so they'll have more room on the bus. So we'll get on the bus and we'll ride over to Columbus. We'll practice and then finish the trip.
Maybe you could set up a quick scrimmage with Ohio State.
Yeah, they. I don't know where they play at. I have no idea. I know we're not practicing there. That's the only thing I do know. But I don't.
You mentioned you're a fan of scrimmages, maybe.
Yeah. We maybe in the spring get them to pass that. Yeah, but that's what we're gonna do, Mike. If that answers you.
CJ good to go?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. He'll be ready to roll.
If you had to make this decision on Jordan, was it always for you going to be Jeff ascending to the role in this situation?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, this was a decision we made last week, and I think, again, for the reasons I said, like Jeff's done a really good job with anytime he's been in a leadership role. He's been in a leadership role. He's been in front of our guys a bunch as a special teams coordinator. He's got the front and the back end experience to tie it together, and he's called defense before. So I think those things, when the decision was made last week, that's why.
As an administrator, how do you, for the guys, for the players, how do you ease that transition when you have that type of a quick change in a kind of weird spot?
Yeah, it's really not. You don't ease into it. We had a meeting on Tuesday, and you just address it up front. I think that's the best way when you're dealing with anybody, especially this age bracket. Is, hey, here's the situation. This is why, and this is what we're doing moving forward. And you don't sugarcoat it. You don't try to make excuses for it. This is what it is, and this is why, and this is how we're moving forward. That's kind of how we handled it. Anybody else? All right. Appreciate y'all.